Enter the crib. Your Strike Back sit rep starts in 3, 2, 1. Wait, do we go on 0?
Welcome back, guys. It is hard to believe, but this is the final Strike Back sit rep review. I'm Kelsey.
And I'm Deb.
And yeah, this is, I think, going to be a tough one. It's hard to believe it's over. We do have good stuff for you, as always. We have behind-the-scenes facts from Jack Lothian. We have Dan MacPherson stop by to talk for one more time why it was all Wyatt's fault. We have 2 interviews for you. We have editor John Richards, who I have to say, for I don't know what I was expecting, behind-the-scenes guy, but he gives a phenomenal interview. That was really great. And then, of course, we have the lovely, amazing, talented Alin Sumarwata. This is coming out. Yeah, this is coming out on Saturday. On Wednesday, you will get to hear from the baddie, Ariana Damachi. Ivana is going to have her own special podcast. Next Saturday, a week from now, we are doing our final sort of series in podcast with Jack Lothian. So we have him, our fellow crewmate Kim is on, and we have a little special guest stop by too. And then a week from then, we had the boys. Dan and Warren will be on together, a lot of fun. So we are trying to, it's a series finale. We're trying to give you guys lots of content to kind of help ease the pain a little bit here in the beginning, because we know we're all going to feel the pain.
And Kelsey forgot that we are, because it was so much fun last year, we are having our fan roundtable again this year too, which was awesome last year. So we're hoping it's going to be even more fun this year, because we might have a couple specials thrown in there too. So
yeah, so it should be fun. Yeah, so we've got like a month's worth of podcasts for you guys to all that Strike Back still to come. So yeah, so lots of stuff coming for you guys. We are still trying to figure out what comes next. We're still going to be around, still supporting, the Strike Back team that has meant so much to us. But, trying to add in some other stuff, we're not quite sure how that's going to look. So we will get there.
We know we've got Warrior coming up at least. We're not quite sure when, but we know that Warrior will be back for a second and seemingly final season. And there's a couple other things that HBO Cinemax does actually still have on tap. So hopefully we'll be bringing you some of that. Yeah,
so we're figuring it out. Thank you guys for sticking with us for all of this. We're going to try not to get too...
Don't make empty promises.
Okay,
Kelsey.
all right. We're probably going to get sappy. So, okay, let's just jump into it. Oh, spoilers, as always. Deb, series finale. What'd you think?
Yeah. I think there's that part of my brain that is just saying, there's no way this is a series finale. We've been told this before. There's no way this is real. But it does appear to be real, so we're going with that. Yeah, I was not sure coming out of episode 9 where this was going to go, and how they were going to wrap that up. They just seemed to be out of options, seemed to be out of places and people to turn to, and certainly it left me pretty emotionally devastated. But I certainly did not expect them to go mercenary. Like, oh, okay, let's just screw everybody and try to steal millions of dollars. Like, where did that come from? But, I guess there was still some, at least they had a little ancillary mission of revenge kind of, loosely associated with that. But I think it basically just showed us that when they stopped believing in their mission, it all went to shit. Yeah. Not that it hasn't been pretty much shit all season. I don't know that we've ever had a season where absolutely everything goes wrong every single time they're out there, but it did seem to be this season. So yeah, I was a little surprised by the direction it went. It did make it kind of fun. It gave sort of a good platform for there to be equal parts humor and angst and action. And I mean, we certainly had our fill of action for this, a series finale. But so, yeah, okay. I I was a little surprised by the actual ending. I will say that I was kind of like, it really left me feeling like something was missing.
Yeah.
It didn't have that celebratory end that Scott and Stonebridge had. It didn't have that expectation of more, but it left the door so wide open. So I'm hoping that door's wide open for a reason, or it's just, it's just Jack.
Yeah. Yeah.
What did you think?
Yeah, I mean, some along the same. I think that a series finale is really difficult because some people want it all tied up in a nice little bow. Some want everybody to get a happy ending. This is not a happy ending type show. I think it's a hard thing to do. I think this season has been spectacular, and maybe it was simply that this had a lot to live up to because you had like 9 A-plus episodes. That this felt like, to me, we got a lot of really good stuff. I mean, a lot of really good stuff, and probably 90% of it, 95% of it. But there was some stuff that left me, like Wyatt having a sudden change of heart, and it felt like we've been watching him go darker and darker and darker for the last several seasons. And, I mean, ending last week on that terrible, when he kills that Russian spy, that look on his face was so, I mean, and then he has some kind of huge change of heart in the 4 months that we don't see him. And I don't think character growth off camera is a great idea. So I had kind of an issue with that, unfortunately, going in. And then ending, I'm not sure I understood Novin leaving. I don't know. It felt like there was an emptiness there that I wasn't sure I believed, maybe. And which is unfortunate because, again, it's been the most incredible season. I've said that. It's like my favorite season. I've said that numerous times. And it has so many magical moments. And this episode had a lot of really magical moments. But it felt kind of like it was capped on either end with like, meh, a little bit. Which is, on the other hand, maybe it's just me being picky because it's the series finale and I'm really fucking pissed that this show that I love is ending. And I could be projecting a lot of extra emotion and need and anger and grief on that. So all of that is also possible as well. Nobody died. Nobody else died.
That last... Nobody else. That last shot, it left me so confused that last shot, I kept expecting, the rise shot from the drone. I was looking for some action on the edges of that shot because it was just so, what?
Yeah.
I kept thinking, okay, I mean, a drone shot like that is pretty purposeful. So why do we need to see everything around it? Is it just now they're out into the wide world, or is something going to happen? And I kept thinking something more must happen. There has to be something to wrap it up. But there is no wrap, and it's hard for me to believe that that's not intentional.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously it's intentional, but is there some larger intention behind that? And I'm sure it's just me wishful thinking.
Yeah, I'm right there with
Ember
you.
of hope that refuses to die.
Yeah, and that's what I'm hoping on as well. That's my hopeful fan theory, is that this was left that way so that someday we could pick up with them again. And also, I think maybe it was trying to subvert your your expectations, that you expect there to be something there. I mean, that's, as you describe it, like seeing baddies come in or a missile streak down or something, but we didn't get that because their world has changed.
Right.
I don't know.
And now we have 4 operatives out there.
Yeah.
In limbo. We left 6?
If you include Stonebridge and Scott.
Oh, okay. That was just meant
Yeah,
this
I
season.
know.
Yeah, but we obviously do. Yes, and I was going to say because we left, they were obviously out there in limbo too. But at least we had a solid emotion to connect with
Yeah.
them. That it was behind them now. They were going to move on and do something. Not necessarily what they ended up doing, but and now we just have, Zarkova, Coltrane, Wyatt, and Novin, and they're just there. I don't know. I don't know. There had to have been something left on the cutting room floor for that to have made more sense to me.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I think so. Okay, so so we do want to say we still,
But it was a kick-ass episode.
Yeah, it was a kick-ass episode. I mean, there's some beautiful shots, some amazing action, horses, boats, helicopters, everything. I loved the horses. I loved when Wyatt's like asks him like, you can ride, right? And like just like Jamie or Coltrane's like little smirk and like which I thought was cute. I love anything with a horse, so I was happy. But yeah, I guess we should actually so fight of the night for you.
Definitely going with the opening fight with Novin, just because it just seemed endless. I mean, I was shocked when I went back and actually sort of timed it out that it felt like it went on for 15 minutes.
Yeah.
But clearly it didn't. It was really only a few minutes, but man, I can't imagine how long that must have taken to shoot. And, was there even more that we didn't see? Because it just felt endless.
Yeah.
And again, the focus on personal vengeance, that really was her, vendetta for genders.
Yeah. Oh no. Yeah.
So I'm going with that because that was just one woman badass kicking everyone's asses.
Yeah.
And she was great.
Yeah, she was. She's always so fun to watch fight.
And then to show up, then to finally make it home and, oh, look, and she made you dinner.
That's so funny. So I'm going to go with Wyatt beating up the Russian by the truck. Because I loved, it was like a good, slug him out fight. But the best part was, when they separate and the Russian, what does he say, drop it, let me see what you're made of or whatever. And Wyatt just boom, and shoots him. And I was like, thank you. Yes, thank you. Just done. I know you don't believe in killing anymore, but I like that, just that, fuck it, they're just done. They don't want to do this, he doesn't have to prove himself in that way.
Right.
It kind of reminded me of in Captain Marvel at the end when you have Jude Law's character kind of wanting her to not use her powers to fight him, normal person, show me what you got. And she's like, I don't have to fucking prove anything. Boom, whatever. And so this was kind of, I thought that was a cool moment. All right, then, your favorite emotional moment?
I think there was actually quite a lot of emotion in this. But I think the moment that, just sparked the most emotion in me, which made me laugh out loud, was the similar moment with Damachi. When at the end, when Coltrane goes in to finish it.
Yeah.
And, he turns around oh, I've been waiting for this big final confrontation and I'm going to give the big speech about how we're really, two sides of the same coin and we can join forces. And the same thing. It was fuck you, boom.
Yeah.
No, that's not why I'm here. And it was just this great sort of real world treatment to, in television and dramas and action, you get this all the time, the big final monologue speech from the baddie. And in the real world, no, I'm just here to shoot you. Boom.
Yeah.
And it was thank you. Don't want to hear it. Just be done with her.
No, yeah, exactly. So I had a lot of trouble picking this one because there were two sort of moments that stood for me. The first being Novin in the casino when the guy asked her about hacking the system and she says I had a friend. She was very good at that. And the end when she's asking what happened to her, the body. That was a lot. But then I think maybe more, I'm cheating by saying both, was in the boat when she's been shot and Wyatt is trying to take care of her. And we see her, you know, kind of doing her Novin thing, like, get your fingers out of me, and you know, just a scratch, boss, just a scratch, or whatever. And Wyatt's responses to her, though, felt like there was no joking in his voice. You know, when he's like, don't do nothing stupid or whatever, there was not that, it was not banter. You know, there was so much like, he thought she was going to die in that. And that just really, and of course then I get emotional because I'm like, oh my God, they're going to kill Novin too. So maybe that, oh God, it's all... it's too much. Okay. Biggest what the fuck moment? The truck.
The truck. What the heck? The truck. Oh my God. Like, seriously. We've got this truck. They have no idea it's full of money, but hello, it's a truck, which means there's also an exit nearby, which means, you know, clearly people using this truck to get in and out all the time. And we're fighting for our lives here. We desperately need to make it out of this huge ass tunnel system. So do we take this truck sitting here ready to go, or do we hoof it with 8,500 pounds of, you know, useless money, which they don't know, hanging off our arms with these long straps in a completely non-military way that they would have done that, and, you know, eke our way through these tunnels on foot with a hostage. Let's see, what should we do? Let's go with plan B. What? It's like that. I forget what, is it an insurance commercial or something where it's a spoof of scary movies, and the dumb blonde is the one who says, why don't we just take the car?
Yeah. That's right. I forgot about that. Yeah.
Okay. That was just so, it was like this huge elephant in the tunnel.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
That is so funny.
And I will say that having these loosely attached, you know, these bags full of money that are flying all over the place with the straps, it was like, no military person would ever do that. You get those things as close to your body as you can.
That's so funny. Yeah.
It was so weird.
That was a big one. Yeah. And that they walked right past it, frankly, in the beginning without checking the back. Because that felt like, I mean, they're so good at like securing an area, but they're mercenaries now, so discipline goes out the window.
Dumb as every merc we've come up against.
Okay, so since you said that, I'm going to say my biggest what the fuck was that the money was fake. And not like...
Awesome.
Oh, that was amazing. When and Wyatt's like, that he like does. It's just like, oh, I shouldn't laugh, but it is funny. You idiots got Novin almost killed and slogged through all of that and did all of that for paper. Not great.
It really was great. And it was such a statement on, you know, we with this meaningless act just completely crossed the line into no good territory. You know, we've abandoned all pretense that we are good people. and it completely backfired on them, which was great because, I mean, it let you know that they probably weren't ever going to go that direction again. But yeah. And I'm really happy it didn't happen earlier in the season, and that that Chetri's death would have been a result of that, or
right.
You know, that it making that decision to go mercenary only put themselves on the line.
Yeah.
Which I thought that was good, but it still was. Oh, yeah, the money. That was so.
That was brilliant. And like I said, I had some complaints about the episode, or we both did, but the boat chase was like just unbelievably beautiful to watch. That was so cool. And the forest and the music, oh my God, when they're going through that forest, and that was so emotional. And then Coltrane's like leg gets hit, and Wyatt's got to be hurting from that stab, like in his collarbone or whatever. And then just, it was, that was, and it's like the drone pans off from the forest, and it just was like, oh my God. Yeah,
I did like the throwback. There were several little throwbacks in that scene to the Scott and Stonebridge scene, like the leg tag and, that all those little injuries. It was all such a throwback. And Jack was great in this season in giving so many little bits of throwback to previous seasons, and that even the final scene that was cool, the final shootout.
Yeah, it was really incredible. All right, guys, well, that is it for episode 10. Next up, you got your behind the scenes facts from Jack. You hear from Dan MacPherson, then John Richards, and Alin Sumarwata. And don't forget, you have more coming in the next few weeks. So Strike Back is only sort of done. So more to come.
Still airing in other parts of the world.
Yeah. So all right, guys.
We've got Overwatch. Jack's facts coming in.
All right, welcome back, Meebers. We are here for our final Jack's facts, which makes me very sad, but they're still fun. The horses were a request from Jamie. By this point, we'd basically accepted we were making a Western, so they fitted in nicely.
I love the horses.
Yeah.
All right, before Novin enters the restaurant, she passes a security guard with a tattoo on his neck. This is Damian Bryson, who was also Mac's stunt double, as well as playing a number of bad guys over the years for us. He's been in everything from Thor Ragnarok to Pirates of the Caribbean. We've been blessed with our stunt performers, Attila, who doubled for Wyatt, Ellie for Novin, and Rosalie for Katrina, as well as them playing numerous baddies for us as well. We couldn't have made the show without them.
So awesome. So awesome.
Yeah.
There were a lot of tough cuts in this episode to fit the running time, from a much longer prison sequence at the start to an extended section in the woods near the end. Hardest of all was a flashback to Wyatt's time as mercenary, a hard-boiled slice of action revealing just how cold-hearted and lost he'd become. Hopefully, one day these scenes will see the light of day, as they were genuinely painful to lose in the edit. Well, that explains some things.
Yeah. That, I think, maybe wasn't unimportant. Okay. When the team looked down on the town of Novogolensk, directed by Fraser McDonald, they were actually looking down at some of the boat sequence being shot, directed by Bill Eagles. A truly odd moment where it was like they were looking down at their future selves. It's pretty cool.
Ooh, sort of a Debs moment.
Yeah. I love
or
that.
Deus. Welcome back to Mark Wolf, who flew the helicopter for us. Yoo-hoo! He was with us in the final block last season, handling second unit on the convoy attack sequence where Pavel got sprung. Mark's responsible for all those awesome Mission Impossible helicopter sequences as well. The moment Bill saw that river by the town, he was keen to get boats and helicopters in, and all the pieces started to fall into place. Some of the insert shots in the escape sequence were directed by a hot young director called Warren Brown.
The song that plays after Ariana's shot is a Mexican folk song called Canción Mixteca, written in 1915. There's also a version of it, played by Ry Cooder and sung by the late, great Harry Dean Stanton in Wim Wenders' classic 1984 flick, Paris, Texas.
Aw, Harry Dean Stanton. Aww. I was just watching Big Love, and he's so freaking awesomely evil on that. When Coltrane talks about the Boko Haram lieutenant on the run, it's a teaser for a season we'll sadly never get to see. Why is he on the run? What does he know? And how does it tie back into Section 20, past and present? No idea. But we would have had a hell of a good time finding out. Let's face it, though, it's probably the Russians.
I love that. Oh, that's brilliant. Okay. The song at the end is Getting Nowhere Fast, a 1980s post-punk single by UK band Girls at Our Best. Lyrically, it felt like an apt choice, only when I Googled the lyrics to send them to HBO, I realized I'd got them wrong all these years. But Strike Back was always a punky little show, punching above its weight. It still felt right.
The final rising shot would originally have been revealed to be satellite footage. Oh, jeez. Some unknown government agency keeping an eye on our three heroes, suggesting that even though they were done with the life, the life wasn't quite done with them. In the end, though, it was such a beautiful shot that we didn't want to ruin it. Oh, man.
It kind of gives that feeling anyway, so I'll take it. All right, guys. That's it for your Jack's Facts. Stay tuned for Dan.
We're not at Xville. Stay with us at the crib.
So, Wyatt, you guys go in there to get this big old cash payday, and you're Bravo 1. So, kind of your responsibility to be on top of the details.
Whoa. Bravo 1 is just a name. It's just Coltrane's the boss.
That's totally how the military works.
Doesn't respect authority anyway. So let's be honest, it's meaningless. There's only 3 of us left. Coltrane's like, get the team together. Well, there is no team. There's you and me and Novin, and she's been better, And so look, let's not get caught up in Bravo 1, Bravo 2 bullshit. Mac's gone. We've grieved. We've moved on. It's cool. We're going to get $250 million of Russian money and get perhaps our revenge on Ariana DiMarchi. Now, I don't want to give too much away, except...
Give too much away. The episode's over.
We all know you didn't check the money.
Walked right past that fucking truck. Boom.
Anyway, we realized that the money we've stolen and nearly all been killed for and been attacked by helicopters and escaped up a river in speedboats and been ambushed by and ambushed in the middle of a forest, all this stuff, find out is only Jack Lothian could write. Money's fake. The money's fake. The money's fake. And if you saw my Instagram story, you may have seen my voiceover revoicing doing ADR of that final moment where you discover that the money is fake. But what Wyatt does as Bravo 1 is walk straight past the big truck that Eric has full of $250 million of real money. And the fact that each member of Section 20 has not gone off and bought their own private island with millions and millions of dollars in stolen Russian money is actually Wyatt's fault, because he got into a fight with Domovoy and actually was badass and shot him in the head in a very cool kind of fisticuffs. That's what we call it on set. When they say, hey, do you want to do a really good hand-to-hand combat fight? And go like, oh, fisticuffs, handicuffs. And then got distracted. Yeah, that's it. With a little flick of the wrist. But and then Ariana comes out and Wyatt got distracted all the time. They're standing there with 3 bags each of what they believe is their future, while behind them, literally 2 meters away, is $250 million of cash that they should be stealing. And had they have gone, hey, Ariana, why don't we just jump in the truck and drive out in the truck where we could all hide in the back and you could be Ariana DiMarchi and just drive out of which I think we discussed on set, and Jack said, don't ever mention that again. So I won't mention that again. This is me not mentioning that again.
You're like, I'm done. He can't do anything.
I'm pretty certain both of our notes say, why didn't they just take the truck?
Yeah.
Look, that's not what was in the script.
No. The truck wasn't meant to be there. We weren't meant to see it. We were just thinking that we had our plan. We'd stick to our plan, and Coltrane. It was Coltrane's plan. I was only Bravo 1, so I just do what the colonel says,
Of course.
Coltrane was in charge. Novin does what she wants. That's authority. You can't be in a position of authority if you've got no one to authoritize over. And so I was just talking to myself. That's how Section 20 disheveled.
Right. Section
Cheddar's used to listen to me, but she doesn't anymore because she listens to anyone. But which is sad. But
Section 20 is still broke. All Wyatt's fault.
All Wyatt's fault, But it's good though. I mean, when the show gets brought back, just think of how many new characters they could fill.
How pleased you look.
Wyatt,
You're so proud of yourself.
On me. Back to the crib.
Welcome back, Meebers. We are so excited to bring you our first ever editor here, trying to give you an overview of the whole experience that is the editing process. So we've seen the finale, and now oh yes, we have. So we get to talk about the whole process with editor John Richards. Welcome, John.
Well, hi. Thank you very, very much for having me on your podcast.
Oh, so thrilled.
Oh, I imagine I'm even more thrilled, honestly. It really is great. You guys are such great lovers of the show, and you analyze it and you talk about it and you're so positive about it, and it's so great because as you guys know, our cast are terrific. They have been throughout all of the seasons. And I think it's great when people big them up because they work really what we get put in front of editors.
One of the things we're here to talk about this season, but I think it would be interesting for our listeners to know that you've actually been working on Strike Back almost from the beginning. I don't think you worked on the first season with Richard Armitage, but you've worked on it since Project Dawn. Is that correct?
Exactly. Yes, I came on into South Africa, and I did block 3 in that year, which was fantastic block to do.
One of my favorites.
It was brilliant. Well, I mean, it was a bit of a baptism of fire for everyone with it, because there was so much action and so many things going on in it that in the end, I ended up doing about 20 days of second unit directing because we didn't have a Fraser at that point.
Oh my gosh.
So that was just marvelously great fun. So I got to go up to Springbok as well and get out of that darkened cutting room. And my co-editor, Mark Thornton, on that block, he had to do quite a bit of assemblies on mine, but a very special block, with Laura and Ian Glenn. They had a terrific, and Tahir, who was just exceptional. I mean, and I did quite a lot of stuff with him and quite a lot of the shooting and action stuff. So I got to play with all the toys.
Oh, so did you second unit direct the big shootout scene between Tahir and Stonebridge?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, let's not talk about this.
Loads and loads. Yeah. Well, there's just for the history of some of it was so funny because in the end we'd missed some shots, so it was really some very, very long days shooting in Cape Town, but we'd missed some of the returning gunfire in the compound, and so we went up to Springbok where we were filming the very end car chase bits, and unexpectedly they had rain, which had been the first time they'd had it that year, and they shouldn't have had it, and it was really awful. So we were all on stop and couldn't shoot anything. So I came up with this plan of whereby we would just go and use this local garage, and we'd put all the cars in and do all the big close-ups of some extra baddies shooting back at us. So we did them in the rain in Springbok in the dark, and they cut into the compound sequence, which was a real triumph over what you could actually get.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Way to go. Never would have known that. That's awesome.
No, good. Then we got away with it.
Yeah. That feels like a classic Strike Back story of like make do with what you've got, because everybody feels like a bit of a MacGyver on Strike Back.
Yeah, oh, definitely.
Can you tell us a little bit, I don't know if you've listened, some of our, behind the scenes people, we like to ask sort of what you do as a job, just because if you're not in the industry, you don't always know. I mean, we assume we know what an editor does. It edits stuff, but in general, when you get all the footage, where does your job start and how do you proceed?
Well, I've got on my Twitter handle, I cut out the goofs and cut off the clapperboards and a little bit more. And it's kind of because people don't really know what goes on. But when you've all seen episode 10, Bill, who's, both a great friend and somebody I've worked with many times now, he shot the big sequence over about 4 days, and he generated hours and hours of dailies, and it took me 7 days just to get my first assembly out of it. So you're going through you're putting big blocks in place to begin with. Well, this is the bit of story that we need that goes from here to there. And then you start analyzing, well, what can I do to enhance bits of it? So, for example, are we allowed to give away spoilers now?
Yep.
Okay. So when our wonderful Novin gets shot, actually having to find and construct what are the angles there so that both the boys are worrying about getting the money in the bags or jumping on a boat and hot wiring that, and actually keeping the focus of where Novin is and how she's in the middle of all this returning fire until she gets hit where we don't expect Novin to get hit. And so you're digging through, most of the time 3 cameras running for 3 or 4 minutes each take, doing many, many takes, and then very often we run 4 little extra cameras, GoPros and all sorts of extra cameras to get all the big explosions. And so you're delicately looking for those 10 frames and 12 frames of somebody shooting so that you can connect the dots for somebody watching it. And that's really what the job of the editor is. It's a massive jigsaw puzzle, but you've only got a bit of the picture. And the action is on one kind of layer in that you want to make it immersive and experiential, and you want to be able to get in there. But the most brilliant thing about Strike Back and the way Jack puts it together is that it's about the relationships. And so it's how Wyatt cares for Short Stuff, how Short Stuff is worried about getting the money for him, but she doesn't really care about the money, how Coltrane is there, I've got them into this mess, I've sold them this heist, we've got to get out of here, we're under enormous odds. And they're such a group together that you're balancing that human storytelling, which I think has been all the way through Strike Back, whether you go back to Project Dawn and any of the ones since.
Totally agree.
So how long on average does it take you to piece together an episode?
Well, we're each of the editors, so there's usually 2 editors on a block, although sometimes that there can be a problem with that, and there's either more or less. We get about 13, 14 weeks in total to do one 55-minute episode.
Wow.
Yeah, no, it takes a long time. So I've done 2 episodes this year, and that pretty much kept me pretty full-time busy from May until at least the end of January, even into February.
That's amazing. I had no idea. I guess in my head, I know when you'd written and said you did the 2 episodes, in my head I was like, I had just assumed, they're like editing all the way through, but wow, that's incredible.
You hop over. I had a slight bit of a break because I was going to do block 4 at one stage, but Bill and I get on so well, and we kind of slightly engineered it a little bit so that we got the team back for the end. Because I thought with my association with the series, which has just been fantastic, I really wanted to do the last episode. And I thought Jack's going to throw the kitchen sink at it, so Bill's going to have as much as he can to throw at it. The guys all want to go out, and there's going to be the end scene as well. And I just thought I've got to try and get on that one. So I'm so pleased to have cut episode 10, the final episode ever of Strike Back.
Oh.
Unless
There's a tiny little ember of hope that will burn forever.
Well, you never know.
Exactly.
If enough people like this, who knows? It would be great. I'd vote for it.
We know how long it takes. I guess I'd like to know a little bit more about who. Yes, we know that you as an editor are there, and that you said usually you work in teams, but who else is in on the final edit? Like, do you meet with the director? Obviously, you met with Bill, but does Jack come in and have a look at it? Do the suits have a look at it? How long does it take from what you think is the final product to it actually being the final product?
Oh, yeah, right. So, I mean, the usual way is it's around about the 5 weeks for the shoot. And at that point in time, I'm kind of holed up in the darkened room the whole time. And Bill and I are talking, Nuala and I are talking, what they managed to achieve, what they didn't achieve, what they've had to do a little bit of rewriting from. We all look at some of my very first assemblies. Jack gives notes back. Generally, he's apart from us, and so that's done via emails or a call. And for the last 2 seasons, we haven't been able to be on location. But before then, we've always been on location. So you're seeing everybody at the end of the night. And that's really good when you can do that, because you really do get a personal interaction. But yeah, Bill sees what we see every week, and we get some notes back. But generally, if you're on a kind of a good place with it, then you just carry on and you make your choices. Because we know what the story is and we know what the show requires. I find that quite. I won't say easy, but it's something that I feel confident and capable of doing, and that I will raise issues if there's something we're missing, and anything that the guys have got as a concern, Jack, Nuala, Bill, any of the other execs, then I'm fairly confident that we can address it. Mm-hmm. And then once we've finished the shoot, I get a few days, 3 or 4 days, to kind of fine tune it, put some music, temporary music on it, and make it into the editor's cut. And it's not like I would go, this is what I want to show, but it's that raw block of marble that's got a shape to it. So we know what the statue's going to be in the end, but it isn't all really finely polished. Mm-hmm. And then Bill comes in for the first, or whoever the director is, but Bill comes in this instance, and he goes, well, I wanted to try and get this. I didn't want that. I didn't like this. I do like that. I remember a really great moment from Alin here. Can we try and get that in? And so by the end of about 10 days after the shoot, we've got something that we start to show to maybe Nuala first and then Jack. And we start to get into a process of notes where we'll all, everybody feeds off everyone. I mean, the one thing I would say is Jack knows exactly what Strike Back is. Strike Back, it says on the tin what it does. Jack knows it. Jack understands it. And he is really great at letting us all show him things and try things and change dialogue around. But at a certain point, Jack goes, no, we've got to do this in this way. And you go, okay, I get it. Yet to find an example where you go, even when I really thought at the beginning, no, he's got it wrong there. By the end of it, you've gone, yep, bugger, he got it right.
Damn Jack.
Yeah. Well, there was, he and I and Bill, we were slightly on opposite sides with the tree fight shootout, because Bill and I sort of said to Bill, I really think that the end of the blowing up of the boat and them jumping off, that's kind of it. How is this forest scene topping it? And so for a long time we were 50-50 on whether or not we'd keep it in or actually lose the scene and go straight into the pub, the little cafe thing. But at the end of it, I was really glad that we got that final shootout, and we were able to find enough time out of the schedule, because there's a finite amount that the episode can run to, so you're trimming all over in order to be able to get it in. But yeah, I sort of argued against having the tree fight in. And Jack was, I'm having this tree fight. And he's right, sorry.
I do think it adds to the sort of feeling of desperation that they have.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm going to vote with Jack too.
Well, there were many things that were really good about it. Not least the fact that Novin was only just able to hold on, and and she's able to get shots off and still fighting right to that very end sort of point for her, that made it, absolutely, it should be there. But, I had a cut that was over 70 minutes, and you're just not allowed to do that.
Yeah.
So things
No, you can do it. It's okay.
Well, you start shouting for the, the full cuts or whatever, the extended versions. I'm in there. But I do think the end versions are always better, because the tighter it gets and the more intense it gets, it's really good.
Yeah, although we'll just start it, instead of like the Snyder cut, we'll call it like the richer cut. Please give it to us. Come on, Jack.
Yeah. Well, maybe. Who knows?
Yeah. So we won't be mean about it, but you do get blamed for a lot of the this ends up on the cutting floor. This ends up on the cutting floor. Yeah. Well, we know. Yeah. So, but Strike Back, like you said, it has to be tight. You have to have. It walks this very fine line between being this all-out action show, but an action show that has so much humanity and emotion and heart to it, but it's in these like little potent droplets. So I'm wondering how, as you're editing and you're seeing these sort of big, clunky walking scenes with lots of dialogue that all the cast says, we know that's going to get cut. How you go about sort of making sure to walk that line?
Well, sometimes there's information that you just have to get over. But I think, as you say, the cast have got this kind of rapport about things that you want to be with them. And you can't do the big action without having the pause bits. There was one in last year's where they were walking through a forest on the way to blow up this tower in the Jar Jar episodes 5 and 6, and it's really good, and they're all calling to each other, and Mac is saying, "Be quiet, keep quiet," and yet they're Katrina and Novin are still riffing on each other,
snarking,
and you just go, "That's great." That's where I say Jack knows it, because that clearly looks like you could take the page out, and you wouldn't miss it. But we wouldn't have Strike Back.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's what's great. And it is that yin and yang that goes on all the time. And either it was those two episodes, seeing how they get from one place to the other and how they are all together. I know Bill's talked about it in the crib. It's sensational. It really is. I heard you all liked the bit where Novin had the conversation with Wyatt after the plastic bag scene. Well, in 4, that was terrific, and I remember having bigger goosebumps cutting that scene than I had doing the plastic bag, which really hurt in the pit of my stomach while I was doing that, and I kept thinking, oh, we've gone too far with that bag on the head. But by the time...
Us too.
Yeah, well, indeed, yeah. But by the time we got to her saying I didn't want to die, you kind of had to have got that far in order for that to have really landed with Wyatt.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Especially because
that makes me emotional thinking about it.
in the previous season, we knew that she was at a very different place. That she wasn't actually fighting to live. She was just fighting to be there. And yet, when it came right down to it and she was faced with it, she realized, hey, I want to live. Yeah. And so, that's absolutely critical conversation there.
But sorry to interrupt, that reminds me of then the scene in the prison with Katrina, where she says that scene there. So that's another one of my episodes. So I did that block with Steve Schill, and that was fantastic. So I'd gone from her towel fight, which everybody goes on about how great a towel fight it is, and it's really well choreographed. Steve Schill, another brilliant director that we've had on the series. But you go into that prison, and the way the two of them were talking, and you just go, they do get it, and they are supposed to be other sides of the world, really. They shouldn't be working together, and yet they are collegiate. And that is what makes the series for me.
For us as well, yeah. And I'm wondering, because, we have this dream that someday we'll get to see all of the stuff that was left on the cutting room floor. I mean, I have certain scenes where I'm just like, oh my God, I would love to see the raw footage for this. And I'm wondering if you have a couple of scenes that you had to cut that are favorite scenes that you wish had made it in throughout the whole series.
No, that's very, very rare, because I'll do anything to get. There's no favorites. There's no favorite. It's like, as I say, with the Woods and Jack. It was Jack's favorite, and we're going to make sure we get that in. I genuinely cannot think of something where I go, absolutely, we had to cut something that was just gold, because you just can't. These guys are so good. So there are loads of things that if you saw them, you'd go, gosh, I wish I'd seen that. And yeah, if you saw, the full length cut. I mean, you were asking a little while ago about the exec producers coming in. Well, I think one of the unsung heroes of the whole of Strike Back is Andy Harris, who runs Left Bank, and he's our exec, and he absolutely loves the series. And he asks the toughest questions. Sometimes we all joke that Andy's got a belt clip of hand grenades, and he just comes in and he sits and he watches it, and it's just like, who allowed that to go through? Why is that there? And it's somebody's got to take one for the team there. But he's asking the questions that a fresh viewer would ask. So it's great when you see him watching something like the first cut. So he gets to see that sort of nearly 70-minute cut, say, of episode 10 that we put together. And in that, watching that on this season, I studied what he was doing. And he sits at the back of the cutting room, and he's got the best seat, and he's looking straight at the screen and the sounds either side. He gets the perfect peachy place. And he's got his notebook and his pen out, and he's twiddling his pen while it's going through. And after about 5 or 6 minutes, he clicked the end of the pen, and he hadn't written anything down. I thought, oh, that's a good sign. We're doing okay here. And then after another 5 minutes, he put the pen down. And then just after we got through the part break, he put his book next to him, and he just sat and watched it. And he went, good, we got a great winner here. And so he's seen all of it, and there are longer scenes within it, in the safe house. And that's what changes. It isn't so much that you cut you cut an actual scene, but you cut some of the things that they all said to each other whilst maintaining the presence of what the banter is that goes on. That whole safe house scene, I'm guessing, but I think it was about 15 minutes beforehand. And then it comes down, and as you will have seen in 10, some of it then becomes overlaid as they go into the town. You don't lose anything that you really want to keep, if you can possibly avoid it. And you just try and use it in a creative way.
Well, I think you've done a wonderful job.
It's easy when you got great stuff. I mean, it's certainly, it's a heck of a lot easier when you've got a script that the guys like. You've got the quality of actors that we've got. If I was to say there were things that were dropped, especially when you've got, in a crib scene where you've got 5 of them all doing things, every single one of them, even if it's Chetri sat in front of a computer screen, she's doing something. And there are moments when you want to come round and see her, and you want to see how Katrina huffs or, looks over to Coltrane, and you go, oh, things smolder here. All of those subtexts that are going on, the guys are all doing stuff, and they know that it isn't all going to make it. But if they put stuff in, then you've got a chance to go through and find your mix, and that's when it becomes great fun. And then we've got terrific people behind. We've always got wonderful DPs. The pictures are always great. We've always got loads of cameras going out, so we've usually got lots of alternatives. if we find something that we could really do with something that's missing, it's a quick call to Nuala, and if she agrees, it'll be on the shot list the next day or the day after, and it'll be fitted in. And the relationship with the directors, as I say, I mean, I've worked with all the really good ones. Steve Schill's great, Bill's great, Paul Wilmshurst's great. I've cut for him as well. It's just fun. What a way to live your life.
So I'm just really curious about over the season. So you've worked on 7 seasons. Can you give us an idea of what you worked on during the seasons? You worked as a second unit director as well as an editor. So
yeah, I mean, I've always been an editor. It just happened to be in that block. There were all sorts of particular issues with the scripts were too big really for us to film, but we were trying to film them. Mm-hmm. So, and we needed extra resource out there. So, and that's when I think second unit really started to become an important part of Strike Back. And, I mean, we usually get 10, 12 days in a block now, but certainly I am primarily an editor and an editor on Strike Back. I'm very proud and happy and pleased to have been. So from Project Dawn, I did that block 3. And then I did the slightly crazy block where the IRA and there was the All in Budapest, and it was when Warren came in and he was doing his cage fighting. Mm-hmm. That was another one.
I loved that scene.
Yeah, that was good fun. That was really good. And then I've done Steve Schill's episode, which is the plane, landing the plane. Mm-hmm. That was terrific. Novin flying a plane, yeah. Katrina sitting in there, and the towel fights and all that prison. That was terrific because I did both episodes really on that block. And then block 2 on this final season and the last block. So I've seen
that's a lot.
Yeah, that's a lot. I mean, it was fantastic to be around Scott and Stonebridge. Phil and Sully, and I adored working. I got to know them really well, partly because we got to know them before they became such mega gods, I suppose. Yeah. Because we didn't know what Strike Back was going to be like. But yeah, they were just terrific, and they. We always knew they were a Butch and Sundance kind of team. And they really did riff off each other fantastically. And that whole Project Dawn ones, and I remember, being out in that yard where all the shipping containers were, and getting them jumping up on top of the containers and running around and moving and shadows. And we were making up the rules then. And that was great fun. That was really good fun.
You guys were setting the bar.
Yeah, exactly. And it sounds like an amazing time, and it's kind of crazy that it's coming to an end. And I guess we'll ask you what we ask everyone, Deb's Philip Winchester question. And for you, it's been particularly a long time with Strike Back. So over the years, what's been your high and what's been your low?
Well, I can genuinely say there hasn't really been a low. I think, when you get the call and somebody says, yes, can you come back? And I didn't do the Malaysian season because I was busy doing another show. And there's definitely a part of me that regrets not being able to have done more of it. But that opening, Project Dawn, was very, very special for me, partly because of how much I got to do on it, but also because nobody knew what it was and we were making it up. And the Laura, all those scenes on the car with Ian Glenn and Laura and the little lad, I mean, they were immensely touching because I shot some of those actually in one of the township areas in Cape Town. And there were just thousands of kids all around. And they were all just, standing around trying to see what was going on.
Yeah.
And I remember them all. They would all follow you and walk around, wanting to, I don't know, see the guns and all that sort of thing. And I remember getting off the craft services trucks getting some of the sweets and giving them, and that was a rod from my own back, because you give a couple of kids a sweet and that's it. There's a thousand, and in the end I had to go and get the craft services guys to just go and get piles of sweets that I could give out to all the kids. So
that's awesome.
So that was a big high. But this final episode for me, just, it feels like even I feel I've cut it well. I really feel it's exciting. We've got helicopters, we've got boats. You're never quite sure where it's going to end. Mm-hmm. There were so many problems with it that at one stage we just, I don't know if anybody told you, but the chase boat that was supposed to go on, that was supposed to be following our three heroes, it broke down after the first two shots on the first day.
Oh my God.
And there was none of it. And so they had to get this other boat that wasn't supposed to be the chase boats, which at least then followed them and was at speed. But there is just one tiny little bit in it where you can still just see there's the wrong boat behind being towed, and it's this kind of green boat with a machine gun on the front emplacement.
Yeah.
So you'll have to have a look for that. But so we had to get round all those things, and yet I don't think anybody is ever going to say that was a compromise sequence in any shape or form.
No, it's very Bond.
It is, and I feel that we got to a point where you still got Mac and Wyatt riffing over, hey, we've still got $15 million, and we're still, don't die on us yet, and they're still fighting as she's bleeding out and telling him to F off as he's pushing on her stomach, it's every bit of it just feels complete.
Yeah.
And so that's
lovely.
I'm very proud of that.
Yeah.
A lot to be proud of.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, John, for spending so much time chatting with us. We such an honor to get to talk to you, and so excited for that perspective and everything. So we appreciate it.
Well, you're more than welcome. It's been a pleasure listening to you guys, and your love for the show is just fantastic. So it's an absolute honor. It's my honor to have been on.
Thank you.
And if you ever want to smuggle out any of that deleted footage.
Sadly, I'd never work again if I did.
Well, we appreciate it and hope you enjoy the rest of your afternoon.
Thank you very much. Cheers, everyone.
So
enjoy the last episode.
We're not at Xville. Stay with us at the crib.
All right, welcome back, Beavers. I can't believe it is the end, and what better way to end our podcast than with none other than Alin Sumarwata. Alin, thank you so much for coming back on.
Ladies, thank you. Thank you. Seriously. The amount of work in podcasts and the people you interview, it's astounding. You definitely know more than I do.
We are the bullshitters.
I gotta say, yeah, it's a bit intimidating having to come on here a little bit.
Shush.
Yeah.
Come on. It has been a ride. It has been a blast. If you had asked me 3 years ago if any of this would have happened, I'd have been like, wait, you mean I'm going to be looking at and talking to the people from my favorite show and not just running away? No, that will never happen. So
good on you.
Amazing.
What a story. Yeah.
So it has been a blast. We have loved watching you. We are so glad that Novin lives. I am not sure that Deb and I would say that it felt like a ending. It did feel a little loose at the end, but my hope is that was simply Jack not writing himself into a corner. And we will see Novin and Stonebridge someday down the road. He can, maybe Coltrane in there too,
That dream will never die.
Yeah. So talk to us a little bit about episode 10.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, it is an incredible finale. That whole block is illegals, no less. It's truly a relief when you see that name as the up and coming director for it. It's just like, yes, he knows the show. He knows how to get it on the day, and that's when things run so tight and fast. On this show, to have someone with that kind of master precision as to what he needs for that shot and be so clear and concise with his direction is paramount. I truly value him. So yeah, it is a ride and a half. Gosh, what do we? Yeah, we've killed the computer girl, haven't we? So we're on to 10.
I'm still not over that.
No, too many lingering shots, like on her head and like the blood dripping down from and I was like, stop cutting back to that. Oh, that was terrible.
Isn't it? It is just, it's heart wrenching.
We were all Novin that night, and continuing on. That was exactly the look on my face every single time I watched it. Was no. You broke me. That broke me.
If only she brought one more C4. That's all. It was a hard one. These conflicting. I mean, surely you feel it. I think I'm obviously too attached that you read it and you're like, no, give me more. There's got to be more reason why I can't get that door open. Don't just make it bulletproof. But I guess that is the ultimate reason, isn't it? I mean, it was proof. What could you do? You really felt useless and helpless that day in every way. There was absolutely no way around. There was no way around it. Yeah, and
except to not have bulletproof glass.
Yeah, except that writer didn't have to write that.
I genuinely know and believe that it's not what he intended. Yeah. When I read it, like everyone, there was a flurry of emails, and mine might have been something like, have fun telling you guys that. Let's try and keep that one a secret, because they'll be after you on that one. Yeah, and he said, there was just no. He says, I'm sitting here writing it, and there's just no way out for her. And
it truly was amazing. I mean, she and Ivana together were so good, and it just what an opportunity.
I haven't seen all the other seasons back again, to be honest, but I honestly, when I watched it, I truly was blown away. And I don't like saying that this is my favorite, this is my favorite, this and that. I mean, because you always see it in whatever mood you're in, say. Mm-hmm. But honestly, that will stay with me for a very long time. Their performances and this whole scene, the way it was shot, everything about it, what those women delivered in that scene absolutely blew me away. And it was devastatingly beautiful, wickedly beautiful. Mm-hmm. Both Verada's little, smile through that.
And that vicious grin that Demachi had. When she knew, you defeated me. Whoa.
Wicked as anything. And I was blown away. It's really, really one of my favorite scenes. Yeah.
But hey, the episode kicked off. I mean, we really left episode 9 feeling devastated, but also feeling like, where is this going to go? How does this pick up after this? And certainly was not expecting you to be standing in a casino or ready to spend the next, what felt like a half an hour, because it was such a massive fight. And I know it was probably only a few minutes, but my God, what a way to kick off an episode with just this like one woman rampage.
How else can you? I mean, Jack and I talked to him about it, and I was like, come on, man. You didn't let me kill Zayef. You faffed me around my hair, and that set off the whole chain of events, I think. When she was at Venice, I'm like, just shoot the guy. You know what I mean? She shoots an innocent bystander, and it's like all these things. I'm like, come on, I didn't go after Mac. I had a lot of. I'm developing constant chips on my shoulder here. I'm like, Jack, You gotta give me something, man. I'm raging, and I couldn't save Chetri. What am I? What am I doing here? You feel helpless. You feel like I know it's awesome for plot, but I mean, as a character playing it, you're like, come on, man. Like, I need revenge, and I don't know if that was exactly it, but it was something, I guess. Kill every bastard in the room.
You're like, I need a win.
Like,
Death is a win in a way.
isn't that awful? But in this currency of Strike Back, it is, isn't it? Like, it's not in life. It's not in life, but on the show it is, and yeah, it was again that scene, casino scene was a day at a casino which they shut down to shoot, and again the stunt guys, it's I love it. They are the people that make it work. Ellie, Paul, Chapcott, Thomas, Damo. Actually, Thomas had left. He'd had to go to another job, and he came back to play someone I get to kill. I don't know whether he actually died on camera, but yeah, no, it was a fun day. I gotta say, it really, really was. Again, with one of those things with probably the most minimal prep I've had on any other, even less than the hallway flight. There was literally, there was no time. We'd been just when it was scheduled towards the end of the block as well. So yeah, things, and it gets filled up with other pickups from previous blocks. So it's heavy schedule, and I don't know what it serves. Just some form of Novin state of mind, I guess. I've got nothing to lose, but yeah, I've lost everything, and there is a big shift in the dynamic of the three that are left. Is you have Wyatt, who's dangerously just very zen,
weirdly zen,
weirdly
eating my dinner and just hanging there. And
what my favorite line for it's fucking frittata.
Frittata. Yeah, again another fucking frittata. Alliteration. Yeah. and you see what is delightful is seeing Coltrane turn into a bit of a dickhead. He literally just said, "Dickhead."
Boy, when he brought that up, I'm like, wow, there's a guy who doesn't have much to live for anymore. If that's what he's going for, well.
They're interesting little twists, and I think that's what Jack will go for. I guess he wants to not obviously go for the obvious, and that wouldn't have been an obvious to me.
No, I never would have thought, what? They're gonna, at the beginning of the season, if you'd said this is how it's going to end, I'd be like, huh? They're basically just turning into
thugs.
But I'm trying to think of the scene, the final with Scott and Stonebridge, when the guy was saying, what, you've been doing this for how long and you haven't skimmed a little off the top? And what is it that they say? We're soldiers, not fucking thieves or something.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, oh my God, they're not soldiers, they're fucking thieves.
Really inept thieves, though. Sorry.
Really?
Terrible thieves. Just like walk past the money, walk past the truck, steal the wrong money.
Talk about the truck. What? Was this at all discussed on set that there's this truck sitting right there?
Nobody's going to look in the truck.
There's also an exit somewhat close if you can drive a truck from it. Instead of just getting in the truck, we're going to go ahead and run the same 6 miles we just walked to get in here.
Oh my God. I think by then there's some kind of, that's coupled with the location we were in, that horrendous place that we were in. I think everyone was just, I think that's a way, actually. If anyone wants to have my 2 cents or advice about how to shut actors up, put them in a shithole. And then they'll stop asking you tactical questions or tactical qualifications for that, for why that's happening. Because maybe by then we just would let's get out of here. This face was just the most morbid. I mean,
Yeah. Jack shared us a picture of the pentagram that was like drawn somewhere in the basement of the building or whatever, and I was like, what? What terrible place.
there was this very morbid moment Dan and I had. It was when Jamie and I were about to blow the fucking door, and we were sitting there as we're waiting for it to set up. This things are dripping on our heads and looking around and just, we go, what is this hole? I can't look. I'm sure it was safe. I'm sure it was all checked out. I don't know.
I don't know. Go with that.
I'm like, do they have the same safety standards there? I don't know.
Yeah.
I have to say this. Let me say, but no, look, it was, as Jamie lightly puts it, grim. And yeah, and I said, what is this? And Dan turns to me and says, maybe it should be called Strike Back, Asbestos and Divorce. I laughed so hard. I cried so hard. It was one of those very therapeutically open moments that I could not. It was just, we were delirious,
Yeah.
And so yeah, there's a lot of things we had to stop questioning because we just needed to get through the day. It was awful, and everyone, the crew, the grips, everyone lugging that equipment into that space, and yeah, horrible. I've never posted. Usually maybe 5 or 6. I can't remember. Everyone had, like the black site was shot there with Chitra, and they had their own days there, and then we had our own days there. It was used quite. I mean, it was obviously open to be used. No one else wanted it. I wonder why. Yeah, look, yeah, I don't know. It was, I don't often comment or post truths about our location. We tend to kind of make light of things and put up the funny side of things. But that, I remember posting one of Martina, our cast assistant, and it was like hugging me and holding me, and I was like, I don't care. I'm putting this up because that was hell. That was that was a hell I don't want to go back to. Yeah. So yeah, we weren't about to question why.
You're like, we don't care about the truck. Just go. Just go.
Just go. Where's the money? Oh, money. Okay, who cares? Let's go. No, we do. I mean, we constantly. We're always. Ask Jack. Ask any director. We're always onto them about things and questioning things and trying to, obviously find truth and accuracy in both the storytelling and in what you do as real life soldiers. And there's that fine balance, I think. Obviously, that's very hard to always. We call it little wins or battles, but you don't always win.
Yeah.
And you just hope that no one notices. But they do.
It's okay. I mean, I honestly think nothing will beat the first season in when Dan and Warren jump into the water and then climb into the boat and their shirts are dry. I was like, guys, water, just a little water. And I know it's not y'all's fault. It's not their fault. Dan definitely is like, don't bring that up again. So we'll take a truck. It's okay.
That is funny, and funny you bring that up because the water thing. We, the three of us, when we had to shoot that wood scene, we were asked to be dry for it, and it was scheduled on the second unit crew, so we didn't have all the access to what we would normally on a main unit, so it was hard. It was a tough day, but we were adamant that we had to be wet. And a little bit of a tussle came out from that because, wardrobe who just want to do the best to help us stay warm and safe and healthy.
Yeah.
We're like, no, we can't have you wet. We don't have facility. We don't have the things to keep you dry throughout the day. We got nothing. So we're like, doesn't matter. We're getting wet. So we literally, the three of us are in a little tent with water bottles, wetting ourselves down. And
God.
yeah, we're like, nah, we're not. That was our moment of revolt. Let's say, we might have let the truck go, but we didn't let that one go. I'm proud to say we
Commitment.
fought to be
I'm so
wet.
proud of you.
Because you cannot give them that option in the edit. You can't CGI wetness,
Right, exactly.
as far as I know.
Yeah.
And it was a direct cut. It was a direct cut from them literally dripping out of the river.
Yeah.
You could say a couple hours passed until they came over that hill. I don't know. But it was all in all. Yeah, there are little wins. At least we were wet. You might not read even on camera, but we were, and we were freezing for a whole day.
That's serious
That
commitment.
definitely came across on camera. Yeah.
I hope
it was worth it.
So I want to talk about the elephant in the room, or the elephant that didn't make it into the room. Can we talk about
the elephant that's on the cutting room floor?
Yeah, the fourth time that poor Novin's history got cut out. Can you tell us a little bit about what we would have seen and how that, how that felt for you?
Yeah. I don't know how fans see it or the audience see the story as one seamless. Obviously, that's what you don't know doesn't hurt you kind of thing. For me, it was hard to watch back with knowing what was in there and now what's not. So I don't know how much I want to really touch on that big fat elephant. But yeah, you were saying there was it's been cut a few times. What it's a line. It's a one particular line, 6 words, and it was in the audition piece. And looking back, I have to say it was a gift, something that Jack gave me back then, even as someone auditioning, because I just understood the entire character from those 6 lines, 6 words. Sorry, 1 line. And it fueled so much of my passion and love and dedication to this character, because I thought, yes, to nail that, this is what she needs to be. This is off goes the hair, on come the muscles. Things like that, like really and truly it was inspiring to me. So there were various times it was written in. One was with Reynolds in season 1, and they're having this chit chat through a forest, and it was done on second unit. And I didn't mean to be a naysayer back then, but I did say to everyone, mate, let's just maybe have some lunch and enjoy the scenery, because walkie-talkie scenes like this ain't going to make it in. I don't see they're going to be short on this step for this to make it in. And sure enough, it wasn't, and that was cool. Second time was, with Wyatt in that shopping mall scene. Mm-hmm. And there was a poignant little moment with them after, just a little hush after the firefight, before they go off and before she jumps off with a bomb. He's, they're just sharing thoughts, and she's talking about the mall, and it's how it was a place that she always thought was like the be all and end all of places. Like, I've always wanted to hang out in malls, She comes from such a small country town that a place like the mall that they were in was like, whoa, super cool.
Yeah.
And that was cut. And I was like, oh yeah, now I can understand. They're sitting there having a chit chat. Yet again, that's not going to make it. The third time was this season at the beginning with Lorik, played by Maxim, who did a gorgeous job of, my God, being Ariana's beautiful.
Beautiful.
Son, beautiful.
Doomed
I mean, son, how? Jack, who are you? That story is heartbreaking. It's hard to read in the read through, actually. Like, just hear.
Yeah.
I couldn't even watch Ivana when she was reading it. I was like, oh,
it was
devastating scene. Yeah, really shocking. Yeah. So they're in the this post at Meatpacker scene. They go in, and Novin finds Lorik there about to kill himself, and her way of appealing to him is to kind of open up a little bit and about herself. And one of the ways she does is just kind of to talk about her history and to connect his experience with his father as she has had with hers, in a way, and kind of just appeal to him on a human level. On a, you're not the enemy, I'm not. We're just two human beings. And she takes off her wig, and that's how she starts talking. And then that gets cut. And I understand, because there's a big firefight going on, and we want to keep the action moving. And at the time, on the day, I was actually concerned that there was this halt, because I did. Again, these are the little battles you win or lose. But then I lost it in the edit again, because I was like, it's a bit too to just have a standstill chit chat. I know the lighting's great, but maybe we should be crawling into I don't know, a little corner, or walking, running, or escaping, or something. So that wasn't a surprise. Maybe mildly disappointing, not a surprise. And Jack was like, that's it. It's got to be in mid-action, mid-uncuttable, uneditable, action. And I thought, yeah, cool. And when I read it, I was really happy. I was really satisfied with that journey and the episode. And I feel like, the stakes were really lifted. And so this craziness about them stealing millions of dollars and the bags going or whatever, and then it all being fake. It was, you earned that. It was hilarious to me when I read that. Like, yes, dickheads deserve this. They deserve for it to be all fake. It really made me laugh. It really, I loved it. But yeah, I have to say, the scene is, once they have jumped out of that explosion, which I have to say, I have to give big props to the stunt guys who did that boat jump, because that was one of the closest explosions. We've done close, but that was them. That was Ellie, Damo, and Attila. Yeah, and you watch it back. It's a tiny, minute little bodies you see, but they literally jumped out of that exploding boat. I mean, that was huge. I think they were all they were actually stunned themselves that night. I had dinner with them, and they were still kind of like, whoa, fuck, we just did that. It was crazy. So we come out of the water and go through the woods. In my mind, playing it, there's a history of, forget about the history of Novin, there's a history of the injury itself, and and the dynamic of how you play that over those scenes. And of course, when she's in the boat, I didn't play the stakes so high. We kind of kept it light. It was more like a brotherly banter with, oh, get your hands off me. What are you doing, you dickhead? It was that kind of vibe about it. So I don't feel like the audience at that stage felt like anything was really going to happen. I don't know. Maybe they do. I hope they do, because that's the whole point, I think, of that, is to make you feel like she's dying here. This is the end.
That's definitely how it felt.
Oh, okay, good. Oh, well, good.
Yeah.
It did. And I guess coming up to the wood scene, I chose to, well, no, I didn't. I mean, it was written that way. She falls, and Jamie spent, it's the conscious person that he is, diligent as anything. He went and obviously studied how to do the suturing on the prosthetics and everything, and he got it down to a T. And so he, in terms of the history of the injury, whatever Wyatt did worked for a bit, but it's now getting dire, and she's actually losing blood in a big way. And so he's needing to stitch it up. But of course you don't see this, right? And so I feel like that was a funny thing to lose, because I was like, I would have never dropped if you were gonna. I would have never dropped, because why am I dropping? For him to just, because that whole entire scene gets cut, and he just kind of, it cuts to the bit where he just says, all right, up you get, all good, you're good. And so she just scrambles back up, and I feel like you've lost that whole moment where she is literally getting sucked into away. She's getting, and it's Coltrane who's standing over her, slapping her over the head and saying, wake up, talk to me. And she won't. She's like, oh, what do you want me to talk about? And Wyatt's in the other hole going, talk to the boss. Tell the man your story. Tell him. And she's like, oh, mate, what? And I won't go through it all, but she basically opens up a little bit, and he has the giggle, and he's like, well, that doesn't surprise me one bit, and this back to that one line, 6 words that she calls on, it becomes, in previous scenes, it was kind of like a sing-song, oh, this is what we used to say. In that moment, it became a war cry. I feel, for the character. And she really called on those words to get her strength back and to keep fighting one last. And you kind of missed the bit where she says, just go, leave me here. I'll hold them back. You guys go. Yeah, I feel like what a shame. I really do. I think, I don't know. I mean, I don't know who makes these final decisions. I don't think it's Jack, because he would have it all in there. He's written it. He'd be the last person to want to, I don't know. And whoever you are, I'm coming after you. No, you really don't. Everyone obviously has their point of view about it. And I take it in. I take a lot of it in. And but I think the net effect for me, it's still a loss. It's a big loss, and it is a big elephant. And I feel like for the ending, for a season finale, for the journey of this character over 3 seasons, which no one really knows much about, and you don't really get to know that much more. But it's there's a lot there between the lines, and more than anything, forget about Novin's storyline or whatever. It's the relationship between her and Coltrane.
Mm-hmm.
This, not only their teammates, but he is a father figure
Exactly.
that she had in that way. Someone who really believed in her, who really knew her, who knew her motivations and really understood her. She's completely indebted to him as a character in that way. Like she would do anything for him at this point. And so when he saves her life, let's say, in my mind, in that moment. So then when you cut to that scene at the end, I feel like, again, you've not only have you cut that scene out, but you take out that layer between those two characters when they say, when she just shakes his hand and grabs it and says, stay loose, and all the whatever I managed on the day to say to him, just farewell the guy who saved your life, who you would actually do anything for. I feel like I wish if the audience had seen that moment before, that moment when they part would have been so much more poignant. I think it would have been like, oh man, because I played it. For me, it was a heartache to leave him. It's a cool scene though. I mean, endings are hard, and all props to Jack. Man, he's absolutely knocked this whole season out of the park. And it's a hard ending. It's hard to, you don't want a complete resolution, but you need something there. You need to feel satisfied something's closed. I feel like I wish we tied up the thing with Coltrane a bit better. For me, again, like you said, if you don't know, you don't know. But there's a layer missing, because in that scene's all about who's going to say yes. Almost, it's like, is he going to say yes? If I say yes, then he'll have to say yes. When he doesn't want to say yes, he wants out. So I should maybe maybe I shouldn't say no. But if I say yes, then he'll say, all this going and then in the end, they feel like they're doing the adult, sensible thing, and they walk away. But it's not really finished. You know that.
Yeah.
Well, that if something happened, one call and they'd be in. They'd be back in there. If he did go after the Boko Haram wishes and he was stuck, nobody would be coming after him. And I'm sure Wyatt would too. So it's an ending in that sense. Like, it's not like, nah, that's it, we're done. I think you get that, but I just feel like that air of the way she holds his hand and says, thank you. That's a thank you. That's like, you saved my life, man, in more ways than one. You gave me a reason to keep wanting to live in more ways than one. And for me, that is such a loss, knowing that was in there. But y'all don't know that, so don't ride that elephant.
We do now.
And I know I don't want to.
It would have mattered, yeah, because that whole sense of saving her started last season. Where she thought, that's it, I'm going to get court-martialed, I'm out, and he started saving her from that point on, and they had such a great relationship. He really. Yeah, he was
he
her
brings
father
her back.
figure. Yeah.
Yeah, and she feels very safe with him, and that's why she does and says the things she does around him, because she ultimately feels completely safe. There's boundaries there with him, and she knows what to expect from him, and so she can say and So yeah, within those boundaries, she feels like she knows how far to step out of them to be able to, come back, and how far to post. About Zarkova, it never ends, it never ends. The whole postcard thing. You know what's funny? I had
Yeah, we really need to hear what some of those alternatives were that she was going to say. Because
come
you brought
on.
it up and Verona brought it up, so we have to know what those were.
Come on, let it fly. You know you want to.
Oh God, no, I can't. I need V around me because she's like my so funny. Our dynamic on set, you know, she's like my little guardian angel, Mother Nature woman. She's like the one that's like, you know, because I kind of carry on like Novin when the cameras stop. I just carry on like that as soon as I walk on set. I need to. I feel I need to just kind of keep that fresh and that energy and her vibe rolling. As soon as if I step into me, you won't get half the stuff. You know, obviously, you know, I mean, I'm not, yeah. So for me to come out with ad-libs and silly things like that, I need to just carry on. And Verada's always there and has always been there to, yeah, keep me at bay and protect me from going too far, perhaps. But it's always nice. And again, I was talking about that boundary thing. I feel like having her there makes me want to be that petulant little annoying brat who's like, yeah, and this, oh yeah, and this, oh, what about this, oh yeah, and that too. She's always like, she didn't mean that. She's always like speaking for me. And it's funny because, you know, the crew, they know me from other scenes. They know I banter like that with them. And yeah, and she's always, I just love the way she would jump to protect everyone. She's like, she didn't mean to say that. She's really not like that. What she actually means is, I'm very sorry, I won't put my cup there again. You know, that's my beautiful V. She was, and it's funny, and I miss being able to misbehave, having someone like that, so I can just misbehave. I can't do that anymore. I have to be the mother that I am. My kids, and you know, off on the weekends, you know, when we're not on a strike back set, it's the dynamic completely changes, and suddenly I feel like she's my third oldest child that I never had. You know, she's my eldest or something, and I feel like I want to protect her. I want to, you know, take her out for ice creams and, you know, get her a nice little juice and, you know, and make sure she's, yeah. So it's really bizarre. Our relationship is quite dynamic and quite unique. Yeah, I think I love her. I really miss her.
She's wonderful. That was a really roundabout way to avoid the question, though. So we're just gonna bring the question right back, which was give us the shit. You gotta tell us what that's it. She said that was the tamest thing you said. You tried to avoid the question, but we're not gonna let you.
Oh dear. Look, I won't. I can't. I just can't. Maybe I can't. It's so bad. I mean, I might have said suck my dick, Zuckover. I think that was probably the tamest.
I feel like we've heard that. That wouldn't be surprising.
That's what I mean. That was probably on the tame side. It went further. It went to other maybe female genitalia parts. It was there was a lot of sucking references to other body parts, maybe, but not always female ones.
Well, it is on Cinemax over here, so it would have fit right in.
Well, they I don't know. They went with, what did they do? Postcard. That's what.
Yeah.
I think Jack was like, he might have called it out and says something like, "Send me a postcard." I was like, "What? How did he go from that to postcard?" It just became the postcard became a bit of a gag, and it became code for something else in my mind. So later on, when I asked Jack, Coltrane, did you ask about my postcard? It's obviously not about her postcard, but people obviously.
It's the look on his face when you're like, "So no postcard." He just has that like really intense look on his face when he looks at you like, which is funny, but it's even funnier now. So
you know, I guess it's not. And I did have someone write into me and they say, why? I really want to know why, after knowing that she risked so much of her, you know, risked her life to save you, why did you ask her about the postcard?
Yeah,
now they know.
Yeah.
And broke my heart. And I thought, I guess not everyone gets that silly humor and that kind of sarcastic, you know. And maybe it wasn't on the nose enough. And I thought, oh, yeah, my postcard is code for so much. It's not about the funny.
No, it was funny. Some people have a problem with humor. With humor. I mean, and let's be real. We looked through you posted on Instagram asking if anybody had questions, and we read through the questions, and we were like, or not. Sorry, guys.
Were they the ones that the guy wanted to know if Mac was coming?
Oh, yeah. So we had posted on Twitter, we're going to talk to Dan and Warren, and we have questions, and one guy wrote, is McAllister coming back? And I was like, what? Is he coming back for the series that doesn't exist? What the fuck? He's dead. Like,
I know. I think, ever since this show got announced that it was a final season, I think that's what's clouded so many people's thoughts and feelings about the show. And it's a bit of a shame, I think. Well, back then, I mean, now obviously they know. Back then when it got announced, I was a bit disappointed, to be honest. Yeah, I felt like you didn't have to say it was a final then. We just got announced that we were going again.
Yeah.
Let's just ride that wave for a little bit. I mean, it's a huge achievement and a huge, thing to celebrate with all the cast and crew. That moment to be like, yay, guys, we did it. It's because of you all we're going again. But no, it was like, it's going again, but it's the last one. And it's like,
yeah.
And so people just held on to the last one. And so all you ever got bombarded with was, no. So even before we started shooting, it was already over in people's minds.
Yeah.
And that's kind of a feeling that was like, and it was an extra layer of like, slug that we really could have, not had to have. Because on top of that, and no matter what people felt and their disappointment that it was the last, you still had to kill it and make it like it wasn't, like it was going to be the best thing. Everyone aims to do every season like it's going to be the best, and that in itself is already a pressure. So yeah, poor Jack. I mean, he would have shouldered all of that as well, knowing it's the last season. It's like, how am I going to wrap this?
Yeah.
So
he did a phenomenal job.
Yeah.
Phenomenal.
It's an amazing season.
It really is. And a shout out to Nuala, sorry, as well.
Show being, having, was on. Oh, it's not. Okay, we're rebooting it. We're bringing in a whole new cast, blah, blah, blah. And now we're canceling it for a year, and now we're bringing it back. It's like you don't really know to trust whether it's really the end or not anymore.
Maybe that's the strategy.
Like,
I don't know. But it could have been announced that it was the last when they, I don't know, as late as possible.
Exactly. Not just going. Yeah.
Just let people actually enjoy it and hope.
Right.
Hope is everything, right? You think that's something. Yeah. So it was a real burden for us. I think the cast. I think everyone would agree that it was like, well, everyone else thinks it's the end, and a lot of a lot of key crew moved on as well, and it's a natural career choice. You think, well, should I go on the show that's going to die, or should I go and start on a show that, and so you can understand those decisions. But it left a mark on us in that way. But it doesn't matter. We have to keep fighting. But obviously, even now, like when you announce anything, this app, see, it's like, it's the end, and it's like, yeah, we know it. So I feel like it was the end before we started, and that was tough, I think.
Yeah. I imagine. I still don't understand. I mean, I don't. Obviously, I'm not in the industry, in the offices and stuff. But to me, Cinemax they do action different than anybody else on TV, and Strike Back got so good, and it feels like HBO, and I know Sky from talking to Jack, just didn't give it the advertising, the attention that I think that it should have. When Warrior came out, which we enjoy Warrior, like talking to people, people would have heard of it. Nobody's ever heard of Strike Back. And it's like insane to me. And I think about, one of the things that I always just fucking drives me crazy is that Wonder last year and how it should have been everywhere. People should have been writing about it, and it should have been articles about it, and, videos of it getting passed around the internet because it was so different and outstanding, and it's like crickets, and I just don't understand that.
Or they'll say, "What movie is this?"
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and it's Strike Back put cinematic action on the map. It set the bar for everything that Cinemax did after this. It was the original for Cinemax. It set the bar, it set the tone. It's the reason that Cinemax is so good at action. And it isn't, Cinemax, it's Left Bank. A lot of their shows are coming from Left Bank. And so it was that,
and they do huge shows.
God,
they're not
huge shows.
Around, I mean,
and then these bizarre decisions to we're not going to do action anymore.
Yeah, we're not going to do originals anymore.
What? And then to just completely shut the whole tree down. Like, what are you thinking? Like, decisions that just made no sense. And Strike Back, it had, from the reboot on, never had the support that it should have had. And even though you guys, you got better and better and better and better, and still nothing. Like, man, they should have just been, after last season, and then even better this season. But, especially when there was no motivation to even get so good this season, knowing now it's the last season, whatever. And yet you still went out there and raised the bar.
It was an easy one to call in. It's like, oh yeah, we've now, we can just ride at home now. Not 1 second did anyone ever do that.
And it's obvious that you're all giving.
I don't know. I mean, I'm not anyone I'm not a great example because I generally live under a rock when it comes to shows and stuff.
So weird.
But I actually didn't know about Strike Back either when I first got the audition, and it was only when I had the links and I looked up on, YouTube, and I was like, what the hell? How the hell do I not know about this show? This is amazing. This is the exact kind of action that I love. Like, minimal CGI, grit, rough, real, and that to me was like, I have to say, I hadn't heard of it either, but that's not saying much, knowing me. But yeah, I mean, I don't know what because it is aired in quite a lot of regions around the world. I don't know why it doesn't, and people kind of tune in afterwards a lot. And that is often the reaction. How did I not know?
Oh my God, I just discovered this show. It's like, yeah, it started like 10 years ago, but this is the last season, but great, nice to have you on board.
Well, you would know first.
We've been talking about this for 10 years.
Oh, bless you.
But what a season to go out on. I mean, it really was just incredible. And so many things that hadn't been done before, and approaches that hadn't been taken before. And, like every time you think Bill Eagles can't top himself, he sets the bar even higher. And like
the man's unstoppable. That whole sequence in the gorge was, all hands on deck. Like every department, every possible unimaginable department that they called in, obviously extra as well, for marine specialists and boat stunt specialists, everything. Everyone was all hands on deck. And even us, I mean, it was the first time we were like just given free rein with all these rounds and mag clips and go, just shoot it out. And I'm like, what? And no one's supervising us on the free open water. What? I mean, they were always there on a safety boat following quite a way back, but all the crew were on that. It was an extraordinary experience, that whole sequence, and real helicopters in the scene doing those actual swirly burly stunts through the water, and look, and
Those little helicopter-y things.
Swirly burly. That feels very Australian.
no, it was everything was happening. You know, the SFX, those explosions, they were all real. We were really in the water, and we were passing through while all that was happening. It was a massive
gorgeous.
setup. Sorry.
Beautiful. It's beautiful.
Yeah,
It's gorgeous.
yeah. It was truly. It was a logistical huge. You know, to coordinate those stunt soldiers who would be coming in from the other side of the river, and and I think there's probably 4 cameras that day, big, you know, and the GoPros and all that. There's just cameras everywhere. And to capture moments that they still needed to for story. Yeah, it was hard. It was tough. It required the best of everyone's attention. Shout out to our incredible first AD too, James Emmett, who, you know, these guys, they often don't get much mention, but they are so keen to how things run on a day like that, and it all kind of dies and lives on, you know, the efficiencies that they can conjure up on the day and manage. So yeah, it was a mammoth day, and so I'm so proud to have been a part of that sequence. I haven't seen the film, but you know, Margot Robbie, when she did that film, all female, Birds of Prey.
Birds of Prey. Mm-hmm.
I haven't seen it, but I heard a lot of press around it about how it's all female, and I understand exactly why and she would do that, you know, and she's in a position to do that, and all power to her for doing that, because these are the things that no matter who, and she's someone who would, you know, being beautiful, blonde, she would always have that treatment anyway. And for her to still feel that way just speaks to so much, the issues that are just so much deeper than that, you know.
It's a good movie, by the way. Just so
yeah, no.
And it is really, you can tell a difference. One, her costume from Suicide Squad to that is like, oh, you can still be sexy and Harley Quinn, but like, you know, be covered more, not have booty shorts. But the fight scenes are so cool. And the way the work with the music and the different, like, it's just, you can tell it's different. You know, the way these women were allowed to use their bodies, and the way she's, you know, the way she fights, and the way the music, like, I feel like music is so key on so many fight scenes, but this, I remember reading something about, they were talking about, they actually played the music while they were doing it so that the women could, like, feel it, and they said, and the difference it makes in watching the way they move, because they were kind of given that freedom to, like, as opposed to it being sort of this rigid thing or put in afterwards or, you know, just behind the action, but where it's like, boom, boom, you know, just like, it's really cool.
Yeah, music is something I do use as well in training it in obviously you can't do it on the day or the actual sequence you're filming, but it's something that it just helps you loosen up. It helps you go out of your thinking and just move with the flow. Yeah, we worked. What I really you know, our stunt team, they are, I always go on about them, but they are exceptional, you know, for them to be able to come up with not just the fights that tell the story, but also the style of fights for each character and how that character would move. I know that's probably their job, but it's tough, you know. There are a lot of things to kind of put into consideration when designing a fight. And for me, one request personally I had was I just want it messy as fuck, everything. I want it, because as soon as it's choreographed, as soon as it's, you know, perfect misses, perfect hits, perfect reactions to a hit, you know, it's like, yeah, you know, what keeps you scared is when it looks really messy. But that's also really dangerous to rehearse, you know, because yeah, you almost need more time to make it look more messy. And obviously, yeah, we don't have that. And I guess I just rely on the safety and people around me and the boundaries that I can work with to make it look messy. Because I feel like that's her, you know, for someone like Novin who's short, what I hate is people to watch it and go, oh, how would she do that? Come on. You know, I never want to give that. That feeling to fans watching it. And my litmus test on each fight scene is, all right, can Ellie do it? Can she actually ball that guy over? Can she, whack that in her, and she does, and she can, and she does it. She's one of the the team leaders, and watching her take these stuntmen who get flown in from all over Europe and watching her stand over them going, no, like this. No, you should see. I can't speak enough of this woman. Elitsa, Rehiva. She is just, I know I've said it before, she's been a huge inspiration for Novin, for the character of Novin. I only really felt like I had my grounding when I met her and I saw the way she moved and the way she spoke and held herself. I was like, yeah, that's it. That's where, this character lives. And so, yeah, I'd be like, if Ellie can't do it, if I can't actually see her physically doing that, then I don't want it in the fight scene. Believe me, she does it. She does all of it. She does all those things, and she shows me. She goes, "You want to see it? You want to see it?" Or I mean, so many times I'll be like, "Oh man, that's lame. That'll never work." And Thomas was like, "You want me to show you?" And he literally comes up over me and does it. And I'm like, "Okay, it does work. I'll do it." I really miss them. You just you go through things you just wouldn't in any normal walk of life with those people. You put your life in their hands in a way, and then you see them do the same for your character to make, in the casino, it is mostly Novin. I mean, as you see, but the bit where she jumps off the balcony itself, the actual jump down, I mean, yeah, the stunt is into some boxes, but it's still a decent height, and you still got to time and know how fast to jump over it and land on the tables around the boxes. I mean, it's a dangerous stunt, and I'm 3 seasons in, I know better what I am capable of and what, I no longer protest as much about what I should and shouldn't be allowed to do. I still feel like I get away with way more than I would probably on any other job, but it was an awesome day to see her shine like that, and also just to see her suddenly when she has to perform. Because she's always my, Ollie, do get in there, do it better, no harder. And I could see like how she had to weigh in that nervous energy because she knows this thing's coming up, and it was very different. And I felt like we were kind of walking the same line that day, supporting each other as true partners.
Yeah.
She's awesome. We were talking about music. And how awesome is Scott Shields, our music composer for the show, and Paul Sanderson. They're amazing,
We had a blast talking with them last season. Yeah, they were good fun. A little drunk, but
that's one way to do a podcast. Damn.
Yeah. Oh, you didn't know we were drunk right now?
We need an edition. We need an all in with Alin edition. Getting way pissed on margaritas.
We need like a reunion with you and Verada, and we'll all get drunk.
yeah, maybe. Yeah. God, you probably be able to. You're the only part that'll make it in. And today's podcast is that's probably as far as you'll make it.
We're talking about postcards a lot.
But yeah, what a way it's done. It's finished. It's my last scene was it's always nice when your last scene is one of the last scenes on the last day as well, so you can be there. Nothing worse than when your last scene hasn't happened actually. Most times I've been there on the last day, every time actually. Mate, I even got called back. The first season, we'd wrapped, everyone left, and I still had to come back a week later and finish off, redo it, this whole scene with Donovan. So that was the last scene ever shot on that season. This scene, my last scene, was when she's in the computer room and she breaks the guy's neck and tries to do a Chetri thing but gives up and throws a coffee into...
Yeah.
Chetri didn't... She tried, but she didn't teach her enough. to get by in life. In the Chetri computer girl guy way. I know.
Here's to Chetri.
Here's to Chetri.
Chetas. Oh, so
Netball.
it was an incredible season. And, from day one, Novin has been a fan favorite for this version of the show. And we always wrap with the Philip question, the Philip Winchester question. Kelsey's starting to cry. Oh.
Kelsey.
Oh. I finally stopped crying, and now I'm going to cry.
Oh, you guys.
Sorry.
Look,
It's really hard to
Jack.
say goodbye.
Look, are you listening? If you're listening, just if you can't see, hear what you've done. She's crying. She's bawling her
No,
eyes
I'm
out.
crying because it's all, yeah, it's sad. It's over, and our excuse to talk to you. No, it's sorry. We need to wrap your podcast.
Yeah.
I'm just
No,
feeling
look,
like, it's been such a privilege, and it's hard to say goodbye.
And therein is the lowest point, the lows, if you want to call it. I think everyone would say it's saying goodbye. It's saying goodbye to. I don't think you're gonna get me crying. I don't think I've actually said goodbye. Maybe again I went into this survival default mechanism about getting through it, and knowing that it was the last time, and maybe every season you learn better, and you approach things better, you hope. This season, I think, knowing that it was the last, I feel like I was a bit more guarded emotionally. I went in there going, no, I'm not going to talk to that person. I don't want my heart ripped out when I have to say goodbye. And that was the kind of thing that was almost my mantra at the start of it, but it just doesn't happen that way. And you form bonds and relationships with people, everyone, the whole Strike Back family throughout your time on there. And I have to say, I don't think I've put it to bed in that sense yet. I haven't said goodbye to it. I haven't gone to that emotional place of saying goodbye to it yet, because you still have a lot to deal with once the show's done. You're still doing the ADR for it. You're still in that room seeing all the faces going. You still have to be that character for a little bit longer, for a few months then it airs, and then you got to relive it again through help, with the help of pushing the show, and it doesn't help when it's so scattered. I wish everything was all at once, aired all at the same time. But you feel like I haven't been able to put it to bed in that way. So I'm dreading that emotional place to be in, because I've been there, in previous seasons, and it's a wreck. It's a wrecking ball effect on any human heart. So that is definitely a low, saying goodbye. And also the high is, what you take from it. And often, if I honestly think about it, even the lowest moments, the worst, darkest moments, you can look back on, because you survived it, because you went through it. You can hold it as a high in a way, if that makes sense, because you conquered it, and not just you, but just the memory of, I'm going to cry, the people that were there, that helped you through it. And there are so many, there are countless people who did that. And, the most recent one, if I think about this season of Strike Back, was, I'd have to give a huge shout out to Sean Killings, who a makeup supervisor and designer on the show. I fucking passed out in a chair, didn't I? And I literally, I've never fainted before, but that day, it was just a lot, and I had just gone through so much. My girls had gone back to Australia, and 2 weeks in, I had another week to go, and it was a lot to emotionally, physically, spiritually. I was depleted, and I don't know what happened, but I fainted, and she was right there, and the medics came and got me through it with a couple couple of shots of adrenaline or whatever it was they put in my ass. Not in my, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So it's, you look back on those moments and you're like, wow, you know, I haven't even been able to, well, I have now, but it took me a while to even sit down to write an email to Sian to tell her how much, you know, she means to me. And hearing her on your podcast was like the best thing ever, just to hear her voice. You know, these are people you see every day, the first point of call, you know, and they set up so much of how you can walk out with, and Sian, just unrelenting energy of, you know, calm and generous, you know, and there are so many. I could sit here for another 3 sessions and name every single one. But yeah, so it is the lows, yeah, the lows become highs in hindsight and with those tinted glasses. And I think that's why, what a great question by the legend himself to ask, because it made me really, yeah, come to appreciate that.
Thanks, and tune in next week for another Need to Know session at the Crib. Follow us on Twitter @StrikebackCrib. Out.